And we are live. Welcome to the Straight Talk Mind and Muscle podcast. Welcome to the Eat One Move Or radio show. Joining me today, Chris Stroup. Hopefully I haven't screwed up your name straight off the bat, but thank you for joining me, man.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me. I'm excited about this.
Hey, look, welcome to the show. For those that don't know you, Chris, you run Stroup Knives. I heard about you through Pat Mack, I think, looking at some of the knives that he was talking about. And I love what you do. You're a former military guy. And I'd just like to expose the listeners to your journey, say from military into what you're doing now. And really, I'm interested, always been intrigued about knives. And humility was one of our tenets. I actually made my first Kydex. It's only the press, but my first Kydex thing about 30 minutes ago for a knife. So I'm really throwing myself in the deep end here.
You're going to get hooked. You're going to love it.
So, Chris, you were in the Army for a few years?
I was in the Army for 11 years and then got medically discharged. Yeah.
And how long ago did you leave?
About 18 months ago is when I got all the way out of the Army.
That's amazing. Well, I'm really intrigued. I really didn't interview many military guys. I was more the fitness world and the science world and medicine world with what I do in health and nutrition. But that sounds much like GBRS, starting in 2019, straight out of the military, medically discharged, and exploding in both the social media and business world. So congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Knife making, man, that's an interesting transition. Were you doing that while you're in the military, or how did that occur?
Yeah, I started about 5 years before I got out. Just my oldest son and I just wanted a hobby to do together. So we started making knives in our garage with just some really basic hand tools. And we figured out that we were pretty good at it. So it evolved a little bit. We would make knives and I would just bring them into the team room and sell them for real cheap to the guys around the unit. And then when I got out of the Army, I decided that we'd just do it full time.
And what sort of, you were talking about your employees coming into work now. It's morning for you there. It's nighttime here in Australia. How many people have you got working for you? What sort of, we talked about amount of knives you're producing, where you're at now?
Yeah, so this is actually really important to me. And I'm just learning that it's really important to me. We have 6 employees and we were interviewed a 7th yesterday morning. Almost all of our employees are veterans with disabilities or retired law enforcement. So we try and provide a home somewhere that these guys that got out of the military and have nothing to be a part of can come and feel like they're doing something important and like they're a part of something that, give them something to belong to, give them a purpose past their military career. So some of the guys are really struggling. They get out and you're a part of something when you're in. It's a brotherhood. You have a purpose. You're doing something super important. And then these guys get out and they're lost. So we're trying to find those guys and give them, we can pay them a decent wage. We can teach them a skill and we can provide a home for them. We pull them in, they're part of our family because the shop is connected to our house. I'm in my garage right now. The shop is that way, 40 feet or so at most. So we bring them in, they're part of our family. I'm like, hey, look, we know you're struggling. We are too. You're part of us now. We're doing this together.
Man,
so that's what's really cool. That's important to me. So it's the coolest thing in the world that we can make knives and provide a good product, but it's even more important that we can provide something that's bigger than us, provide a community for these guys.
Man, I'm blown away. I really am. And it's so important. The word you mentioned was purpose. I like to quote, and I don't know who the hell I'm quoting, but it's a man without purpose is lost. And us, when we get out of the military, I'm only learning about how big the word transition is, because we used to say, oh, what are you going to do when you leave the Army? It's like, go do a job, but you're really transitioning from a lifestyle, as you said, a belonging to a different thing. So that's really cool, that the opportunity you're giving there, and you're a growing business as well.
That's a big reason we want to grow as large as we can, because the more knives we can sell, the more people I can hire and the more I can pay them. Or if they don't need money, the more I can provide whatever it is that they need. But it just gives us more options.
Man, that's awesome. And that would also, maybe that's what I was drawn to you, because I see a loyalty concept there, brand loyalty, and you'd have employee loyalty as well, which is phenomenal in the forces. Knife making, creativity, that is also part of what's really helpful coming out of the military, isn't it? Getting that creative mindset and getting ourselves out of our own heads.
Yeah. So knife making is really tedious, right? I have a knife right here, right? It's got every little detail. The laser engraving is messed up on this one. That's why I actually have it available, or I have to fix it. But every little detail, the screws, the way the spine is done, the texture, the bevels, exactly where the screw holes are put, the way that retention is done. It's all attention to detail. So we get these guys and they can't get their mind right, so now I can put them in front of something that's mindless and just help them shut their mind off and focus on the little details of making a knife. And it seems to really help. It's kind of, some of the tasks are monotonous. Hey, you're going to sit here and you're going to grind 50 bevels today. And they love it. They just put some music on and then they grind knives all day. At the end of the day, they're like, man, I get paid to do this. You're helping me. We're helping each other. But yeah, the creative process, we want everybody involved in what we're doing. So we encourage them to help us design new knives or come up with different color combinations for handles and sheaths, or just improve our processes. So we just find out what each person likes doing and what they're good at, and then we let them do that. So one of our employees, Sarah, she was our nanny during COVID, and then our kids all went back to school. So we just hired her into the knife shop. She's really creative with resin and different things like that. So we bought a pressure pot and all the stuff for her to make resin epoxy scales. So we try and find the things that people want to do, and then we give them a budget and say, hey, go for it. Do your research and let's do it.
Man, that's phenomenal. What can I ask, go back to the military? What rank were you? And I'm not sure if that rank related, because I don't want to get into unit stuff, but what sort of rank were you in the military?
I was an E7, Sergeant First Class, which is a senior enlisted.
The reason I asked that is the last couple of guys on have been sergeant majors in the unit in Delta, and when those guys talk at that age, you listen. When they start talking, they just spout wisdom. But you seem to be that person that's gripping the team up, leading it, and caring for the team as well.
Yeah, I only did 11 years, so I didn't make it quite that far. But I was definitely a senior non-commissioned officer, and wasn't in a leadership position. I was more of a, still a doer of things. I was a communications expert. So I was the guy on the team with the radio, and we had cell phones and all kinds of things that talked. So I was in charge of anything that talked to things. If that was base communications in the computer network or out in the dirt, calling back to base, making sure we always had somebody as our lifeline.
Yeah.
So I guess a lot of it relates because you have to, my mindset was that what I'm doing is important to everybody. So it has to work. So if you take that into everything you do, it just makes it easier. Like there is a solution. We're going to find it. It's not necessarily we have to be able to call for help. But if there's a problem, we're going to figure out how to solve it. So there's always a solution.
That's cool. And has it been a linear road starting the business? I mean, you started knife making 5 years ago, but out of the military and growing a business, that's a big thing, man. What's it been like doing that? Because a lot of people that are current military or are transitioning out would probably be asking that question: how the hell do I do this? And you've done it in 18 months.
So I started slowly building the business and starting the Instagram page maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And we were in a 2-car garage when I got out. But before, as soon as I got out of the Army, I became a real estate agent. It was terrible, but we sold a whole bunch of houses, but that allowed us to save up some money. That way we didn't have to worry about the money starting the business, which was a huge help. Because there were some months we made a small profit in the beginning, some months we took a loss, sometimes we took a big profit, but we didn't have to take any of that money out. So that's how we were able to go from a 2-car garage to about a 2,000 square foot shop, fully, all the grinders and CNC machine and all these employees without taking on any debt. Yeah. So by having something that we were able to fund it with, that was huge in the beginning. And it still is, because I'm disabled through the military. So I get a decent paycheck every month. So We have paid ourselves very, very little in the whole 5 years that we've been a business. And we continue. Some months I don't pay myself at all still. That way I can pay my employees and grow the business. I'd rather be able to add another grinder or, something. Right now we're saving up for heating and air. Right now we just have propane heaters and it gets in the 30s or in the high 20s sometimes in the winter, or 100 degrees in the summer. So instead of paying myself, we're saving up for an HVAC system. So I think that's kind of an important piece of this. But if you have to pay yourself, just pay yourself as little as you can and live kind of on a budget as you grow your business, because eventually it's going to be big enough and I can pay myself whatever I want to.
Yeah,
Or I can. Yeah, it's tough. It's real tough sometimes, but that was important to have a good savings account. So I guess if you're getting out in the next couple of years, start what you want to be doing now as kind of a side hustle and save up money so you don't have to worry about money in the beginning.
That's clever. And I think it was John McPhee that spoke about that, old Shrek, or maybe another guy, but literally start sort of thinking about it 5 years out and start accelerating that so that you're not literally leaving and going, I'm going to do a job, because it's a transition of your identity, a transition of everything you're doing, your whole lifestyle. So that's really clever, and really congruent with all the other guys I've interviewed veteran wise. Let me see. I've got a couple of questions because knife making is. I love knives. I mean, I've got a bench made here and one here, but knife making isn't my skill set. So I actually went on a knife maker's page and asked for a few questions. So I'll throw a few in. And the first one I thought was really clever was, what are you carrying at this moment in the interview?
I'm wearing my workshop pants right now that you can't see, but they're gross. So I don't have a knife on me, but I normally carry our mini, this little guy.
Yep.
And I carry it horizontal right by my belt buckle.
Nice. I've looked at your knives. The minis looks great.
It's the size of a pocket knife, but I don't have to keep it in my pocket. So most of us in the shop carry one of these. So everywhere I go, if I'm wearing not workshop pants, I have one of these on. My wife carries one. Most of our workers carry one. It's the perfect little size.
Let's talk through that, because I've looked through the website, seen different knives. You got the mini, and then you got the other larger ones. Let's just talk through what that knife's made of and what makes it what it is.
Our knives are all made out of 1095 high carbon steel. So it's a tried and true steel. It's been used for years and years and years, and it'll take a beating. We've had our knives brutalized by some big YouTube people, and it's hard to watch, but at the end of it, they always hold up. So it's tried and true. It's not the newest, fanciest phase in the industry, because that's not what we're going for. We're trying for something that's going to be timeless. We want it just to last. It doesn't have to be the fad. And then our handles are generally made out of G10, which is a composite material. So it's meant for industrial uses. It's meant to hold up, to be abrasive resistant, weather resistant. It's meant to just last. So we try and make a knife that looks good, but it's also going to last and function and do anything you throw at it. As long as it's in the realm of a knife. It's not a screwdriver. It's not a pry bar. It's a knife.
Yeah. I've been there before. The old Gerber back in the day. A quick snap. And your knives, they look rugged. They look rugged, Chris. What's the deal there?
We want it to look like it's meant to be used. We keep our prices reasonable, and they have that rock tumbled finish. So that way it looks like it's not used, but rugged, like you said. That way people are actually going to use it. So I don't want you to buy our knife and put it in a safe. I want you to take this knife out and put it on your kit if you're going to war, or take it out in the woods, or just carry it on your belt for everyday use. Whatever you're going to do with it, I want you to actually do it. That's kind of what we're going for with our whole overall look of them.
That probably leads in and around the same context. The next question: what design are you most proud of that you've got on in the range there?
Ooh, that's a tough one. So the mini was designed by one of my good buddies. His name was AK. Some of you guys listening to this might know AK. He's a crazy dude, real big into knife fighting. He designed a knife a little bit bigger than the mini. And then our water jet cutter that I used the first time, they messed up the design and scaled it down about 30%. So it turned into the mini. So that one's cool because AK and I were deployed together. And he brought me this design. He's like, man, I have this knife that I like, but it's not quite what I want. Can you make me this? So I got to take this, really skilled, insanely cool guy's design and make it into something that everybody carries now. We've sold, I don't know how many minis, probably 1,000 at least. And they're all over the world now. And it's the coolest thing. And then we took AK's original design size and we're bringing it back. And it's going to be carried by Justin Melnick, who's on the TV show SEAL Team.
Oh, I have looked at that when I was getting some photos for Eric Davis, as a former SEAL that I was interviewed, and those actually popped up, some of the SEAL Team series, which I haven't watched. Yeah,
it's pretty good, but he's going to carry this knife in the next season 6 of the show, airing later this year. So he helped us design that knife, and he's going to be pushing it. And 10% of all the money we make from that knife is going to go to the SEAL Team 6 Foundation.
Man, that's cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, he's such a good guy. He didn't want any money from this. He just wanted us to donate money. So he's going to push it on all of his social medias and all of his people, and he's going to carry it on the TV show just to help us and the nonprofit that we're supporting. That's the coolest thing in the world to me.
That is cool. I like that. It's phenomenal, isn't it? Just a little bit of exposure. You just need that one little break, and you're already grown. But the reason behind that is it's karma, I guess. It's going to pay off for the right reasons.
We're growing quickly, and I think a lot of the reason is because we don't really make our decisions based on how much money it's going to make us. I mean, it's a business, so we have to make money, but we partner with people that we want to work with that are doing good things and that we like to be associated with. So Justin, we also partnered with EJ Snyder. He was on Naked and Afraid, the very first episode, and he's been on it a bunch of times. Just a whole bunch of outdoor survival TV shows. We designed a knife with him, and we just like working with EJ. He's a great person, and he's connected us with so many great people that have helped us immensely. But we didn't do it because we thought it would make us a bunch of money. We just like working with EJ.
Yeah.
So we did it to help him, to help us, and we get to hang out with EJ. He's actually coming over to the shop in a couple hours.
Oh man.
So I get to bring this, he's a celebrity in a lot of circles. I get to bring him by the shop, and everybody gets to meet him and hang out, and it's just kind of fun. And he's a great person.
It's that law of attraction, isn't it?
I think so.
I'm going to go through a couple more of these. It was really interesting questions these people threw at me. So I guess that, given the context of what you said with your former teammates and so on, what prototypes or collabs do you have coming up in the future? What are your thoughts there? Right
now, we went to this big event this past weekend at Palmetto Armoury that they held, and Glock and SIG and all the big people were there. One of the vendors that was set up next to us, there was 2 guys at the table. One has his own small gun company and the other has a body armor company. We're making custom knives for their businesses. They're each getting a different knife. So those will be launched probably in the summer. So we have their design, and we're going to put our design input into it and make it for their brand. So it'll have our logo on it, but it'll be their knife, and they'll be the ones selling it to their customer base. So we're excited about that. And we're working with Wilder Tactical. They make body armor, and their belts are really, really cool. They make just really well thought out kit. So they have this little double mag pouch bracket. It's a piece of plastic kind of in a U shape. This part will mount into the belt, the back part, and then the front part holds the 2 magazines. They're going to create a space so one of our knives will mount behind the magazines. So on their kit, you can have our knife mounted with a custom sheath that goes behind the magazine. So it'll tuck right where they want it. And then we'll also have a mount that'll go on their little drop leg holster. So I think that's really cool that we're able to partner with other people in the industry to create things that help both of us. They want to be able to mount a knife, and we have the capability to do it. And it helps push our brand because they're selling tons of their kit everywhere, and they make really good stuff. We actually got one for my wife. They're the only people that make one small enough for her because she weighs 100 pounds. So it's hard to find things that fit her. So Wilder Tactical, with that one, would that be more for a law enforcement use? And military, like your battle belt, you got your med kit on it and your holster and your mag pouches. Yep. or just wearing it to the range. For anybody that goes to the shooting range, you got to have a holster.
Yep. Awesome. I remember I spent a couple of years as a cop. So my background, New Zealand military, finished SF there, came here a couple of years as a police officer, wearing a gun, because in my country, in New Zealand, no guns, gun-free zone. And then come to Australia, strap on a Glock, and then I've been in the firefighters for the last 10 years. But I remember on the drop leg holster, I always had my Surefire torch attached there as well. But my Benchmade would go in my pocket, because you didn't want to really carry a fixed blade knife there, even though I had good reason to. But I was just thinking, as you're saying that, I was thinking on the belt kit, there'd be great sitting behind the mag pouch, because you're going to access it for one of two reasons: access the knife or access more rounds. So it's a clever way to do it.
Yeah. So it's fun working with other people that have a great vision, and then we can take their vision and integrate what we're doing. So it's fun doing things like that. To me, we get to be creative and work with other people and help them, and they help us. And we spent a couple hours just chatting with them, and we get to learn from each other. Hey, how'd you grow this? And how'd you do that? And we're different things that we make, but at the end of the day, we're both making a thing. So we just kind of talked about manufacturing processes and hiring people and dealing with employees, which is a whole, never had to do that before.
Yeah, it's a different world managing people, but you're bringing all that's, and that's why I asked about your rank. You're bringing all those skills that we say we can transfer from military to civilian, but you're obviously demonstrating that in a productive way. I'm going to ask you a bit of a curveball question, and I'm really palming it off because I didn't write these. As a knife from another brand maker that you really like.
Ooh, okay, yeah, Spartan Blades and Daniel Winkler. Those are my two favorite. All of their knives, pretty much. The Spartan Blades, their pocket knives that they make, they're incredible. The attention to detail that they put into those things, and their fixed blades. And then everything Daniel Winkler makes is top notch also. We're good friends with both of those guys. They've been huge mentors to us. We go to Spartan Blades' shop. It's about an hour and a half from us, probably once a quarter, so every 3 months or so. And they have been nothing but amazing. We go there with all of our silly questions, like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. We have all of these things going on. How do we fix this, Mark and Curtis? And they always just give us whatever they can to help out. And it's been amazing.
Daniel's actually coming on the show in about 10 days, I think.
Oh, cool. Tell him I said hi.
I will, man. I will. And going back to something you were saying before about your brand, your knife going to be under the banner of those other two brands. That's how I actually found out about Winkler Blades. I bought the Dynamis blade from Dom Raso. Really clever. I hadn't, over here we're not exposed to those different knife makers and gun makers and things. And he has brought that to the forefront. And then of course, Jack Carr bringing Winkler knives out more and more. I think his show actually dropped the other day. One of his books, Jack Carr's books, for those who are listening, sorry about tangenting, Navy SEAL, written some amazing fiction books, and it's all thriller style. And Chris Pratt, I think, is the actor, is doing a series taken from the book, uses a blade in this. As soon as it hit the airwaves, Daniel Winkler was sold out for months.
Yep, that's how it goes.
And that's going to happen the same thing for you with the Navy SEAL episode as well.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Yeah, when we first started, we were in a 2-car garage. I was still a real estate agent. And this guy named BK with Masada Tactical came to me with his design. He said, hey, I had a prototype made in China, but I can't bring myself to get this knife made in China. Can you make it? Heck yeah, we can make it. I had no idea what I was doing. How am I going to make 100 knives? We were making 15 or 20 knives a month at that point. So we took on the project, and that was kind of what really started us off. Was we figured out how to make 100 of them. It took us about 2 months, but we knocked it out as fast as we could. And that really nailed down our processes and showed us that all kinds of things are possible. But we love doing projects like that with other brands because we get to use their kind of creative design plus what we're doing, and we get to make them knives, and it gets our brand out there more, and it gets their brand out there more, because then we push their brand through our page also.
Brilliant. And it shows the quality. You know, I said Pat Mack was talking about your gear the other day in one of the we've got a private group Patreon channel, and yeah, we all use quality. Talking about knives, but you know, back when I was a kid and the knife making was actually thinking about, I was a blacksmith. I forgot to mention, when I was 17 years old, I was a blacksmith. We used to make leaf springs in the foundry, 4 of us. And Kydex wasn't around then. You know, you've become a knife maker, but now you've got to deal with this whole Kydex thing. And what you showed me with the mini there, that sheath looks beautiful. That's a whole nother thing in itself. Can you talk through the mysteries of that? How the hell did you get into that working so well?
Bunch of YouTube videos and then trial and error. Just buckets and buckets of trash, Kydex that didn't work. It's with Kydex, it's not hard once you figure it out. It's just the little details. You got to grind to exactly where the retention points need to be. And if you miss, it doesn't hold it well, or it holds it too well. If you get your belt clip too high or too low, because that creates tension on the blade also. If it's too low, then you don't have enough tension to hold the blade. And if it's too high, the belt clip blocks the knife from coming in and out of the sheath. So it's just a lot of experimenting. Right now, we're trying to make templates so we can make the sheath and then put the template over the Kydex and be able to mark where everything goes, the holes and the outline and everything. But we still just make every one of them by hand with no template. We just press it like you did and then draw some holes on it and take it to the bandsaw and take it to the grinders. I need to make it repeatable so other people can do it. So right now I'm the only one that can do it. It's such a detailed process that has to be just right. If the knife can be great, but if your sheath sucks, nobody can really use your knife. So we had to figure out how to make a good sheath.
Man, that's
just a matter of trial and error.
You're the second guy I've talked to that's literally making stuff handmade. I just posted the show today. He's over your way too, because only about an hour out of North Carolina. Sean Richardson, he makes this thing, it's like a Thor's hammer called the Banff hammer. And it's this hammer, big Thor's thing, but it's made of rubber. And literally I was interviewing him in his shop, which is in his basement. And that was what he did to make money for his wife and kids. And there's YouTube videos on how he does it, which is really cool. But craziest thing, Chris, a week after I did the show, his house burnt down.
Oh no.
Oh, exactly. And you know, he's the nicest guy. He's like you, so sincere, so open. And the silver lining, I heard about it a few days later, and he had a GoFundMe, which is cool. But the coolest thing was he saw the silver lining. Now he doesn't have to do it in his basement. He's now stepped up production to have more range of weights of this thing going into this production facility, and it's going to actually be better for him. So yeah, it's really cool to see the beginnings, like where you are, and then you're talking about the order you've got with those so many more knives and those other manufacturers. I'm really excited to watch your progress there as well.
Thanks, I appreciate it. We're working on getting into some bigger retailers also right now, which is a bit scary. It's kind of like that 100 knife order with Masada Tactical. We have a couple retailers. One was saying they might want to order 10,000 over the next year or 18 months. For scale, we made 800 and I don't know, we'll call it 850 knives last year in our first year operating as a business with employees. This year, we've already passed that just in the first couple months. I think we passed it by quite a bit, but nowhere near 10,000 in a year on top of all of our other orders. So right now we're working tirelessly to just make the shop bigger and get everybody working together really well, make our processes as good as we can to figure out what we're capable of. And then you just got to jump. Let's just commit. We'll figure it out as we go. We have to.
Well, man, I love your positivity. I love having heard about your progress and the products you put out. I'd like to ask you a question back to the military side, because you've been on both sides. What do you see? What advice would you give for someone that's finding it hard where you're at now? So they're a couple of years out of the military, so this is so common. And I was just talking to a SWAT guy yesterday. We're talking some business stuff. He's 2 years out of SWAT. He thought it would have been fine, you know, but common story, a couple of years out and a bit lost. What would you give as a piece of advice or something for them to think of if they're listening to this show now that's going to help them out?
That's a tough question. I think the biggest thing is having something to be a part of. When I was a real estate agent, we had a really good team, and it was a lot of military people similar to me that got out of the Army and needed a home. And that started to deteriorate because they started to grow too fast. And that team cohesion fell apart. And that's when I started to really struggle, because I went from the military straight into this real estate team that was really military minded and everybody helped each other. And then that fell apart, and I didn't feel like I had a thing that I was a part of, because the brand was really well known around here. And then it started to go downhill. Like, man, now I don't feel like I'm a part of something bigger. So then we started growing the knife company, and now we're starting to get pretty big, and we have a purpose. You know, I'm helping veterans, and we're making really good quality knives that people are taking on deployments and cops are carrying, and we're making something we're proud of. And we're building a more than just a brand, but this family. So it's just about finding something to be a part of. It could be a nonprofit that, like, we have the Special Forces Association in our area. Their vice president works for us. So we donate a lot of money to them. And because of that, we get to be a part of every event they do. So like this weekend, they're doing a tactical games in our area. So we get to go, I get to bring my kids. They get to watch all these really cool guys shoot guns and run around and carry things. And then whatever knives we sell, we donate a large portion of that to the Special Forces Association. So I think just having something that you're proud of, whatever that is, it doesn't have to be your job. It can be something outside of that that you're involved with, but something that gives back and helps other people. It seems to be the biggest thing for everybody that I've come in contact with.
Yeah, I agree. And maybe it goes back to that flow state. Again, I talked about Eric Davis. Interesting thing, he was talking about flow state, but he said, start your day with something that's flow state. And for those that are listening that don't know what that is or feels like, it's that bunch of chemicals you get in your brain when you have to do something dangerous, or you do something creative, or you do something giving, and you get that flow through your body that feels amazing and it just goes right. The three biggest triggers are altruism, which is giving back, creativity, which is what you're literally doing, and doing dangerous things. They're the easiest ones, but definitely that helps. And he spoke about starting your day with that. And what a clever idea, rather than going your whole day and then getting your reward at the end of the day for going surfing or whatever you want to do.
So for me, that's really important. And I start my day a little different. We have 4 kids. So being in the military, I was gone, I don't know, 60 to 80% of every year for all 11 years, either deployments or trainings or whatever, schools. So now I get to wake up every morning and take the kids to the bus stop. And then my wife and I work out. Right behind me is my photo studio here.
Yeah.
On the other side of me, right over there, is my squat rack, my kettlebells and dumbbells and everything. So every morning we put the kids on the bus, and then my wife and I work out together. And we have 6 acres in the woods. So a lot of times we'll just put a weight vest on or backpack and just wander around in the woods for an hour together. And it's fun to start the day together like that on something positive that's pushing ourselves and making us better, but we also get to do it together. So it brings our relationship closer.
And that's super achievable. I think that's where I was trying to get with that conversation. I really show my true strengths, because I don't know how I've ended up an interviewer, because I'm just a shooter and a fireman. But I was trying to get to that how easy it is. It doesn't have to be, start some big charity or do some crazy thing. You're literally just putting a weight vest on and hanging out with your wife. And thank you for saying that, because I was going to touch on what you're doing for exercise. So that's super important, is having movement as part of your day, and really clever putting the start of the day, Chris. Well done.
Yeah, definitely. I have a lot of broken body parts. That's why I got out of the Army. I got medically discharged. But if I don't start my day by stretching and working out and being active, by the end of the day, my hands don't really work right. My knees hurt so bad and my back that I can't work in the shop. So it's kind of they go together. I have to work out to work in the shop. So and it's easier. I've tried working out at all different times of the day. It's easier if you just do it in the morning. You start your day on a win, or hey, I got through my workout. Now I can attack the rest of the day. And by doing it with my wife, we get to spend time together. We're hanging out, joking around, pushing each other to work harder. And it's just great. But if I don't work out a couple days in a row, I can't hardly function. So I have to do it, which
I hear you, man.
which I love. But I love working out. So then I just have this reason that I have to do it. It's like a forcing function of, hey, you have to work out, but it's something I want to do anyways. So it gives me an excuse. Normally I don't schedule things at this time of the morning. So my workout time.
Well,
but I'm going to work out right after this.
Yeah. And you don't have to go far.
Yeah, exactly. I'm staring at my squat rack right now. As I look at the camera, over the top of it is my squat rack.
Oh man, that is awesome. Awesome. Look, I won't hold you up for your training too long. Because of what you said there, I'm going to send you out a care package of some of the goodies I've got in the store. People that are listening, we got to know where to find you. So I'll get it from the horse's mouth. I got it written down here. I don't want to screw things up. So let's talk socials. Let's talk website and your products. Yeah.
So our Instagram is where we're most active. It's just Stroup.Knives, STROUP. And we try and show who we really are. We're not a big knife factory. We're just friends making knives in a shop. So a lot of the pictures are just us hanging out in the shop, or just pictures of knives as we're making them. And then we take a lot of high quality pictures so you guys can see what we're making, or events we're doing, or just sometimes we post little silly videos of us hanging out in the shop. Our stories we're pretty active on. I have 2 drum sets right to the side. And I found out one of my employees played drums as a kid. So I made everybody stop working and we came and did a drum battle.
Oh man. Awesome.
We just played drums back and forth for, I don't know, 20 minutes, and everybody got to take a break and watch us play drums. So everybody was posting that on our story. And then our website is where we sell our knives through. It's just stroupknives.com, STROUP. And that's where you can see everything we have available. We try and keep it well stocked. Sometimes it's hard because we do a lot of local events and things, but we keep everything on there where we can. You can email us through the website. We have a couple of different emails. You can reach us at info@stroupknives.com or sales@stroupknives.com. And that'll come to my wife and I. And if you don't see what you want on there, we can make it for you. You can email us at those if you wanted to do a custom knife of your own. We don't do less than 50. So just keep that in mind. We'll work with you on the design. We can do any handle colors, Kydex colors, whatever you want, but it's got to be at least a minimum of 50. And we'll work out a decent margin so that way we both make some money out of it and have fun together. But just email us and we'll reach out and figure out how to do it together. We also have a YouTube channel we just started. It's also just Stroup Knives. We're trying to create some content to help knife makers or small business people that make things. There's a lot of people that know how to make things, but not a lot of people that know how to run a business. So we're trying to teach that part of it. We're developing it slowly. We are really busy with just making knives. So it's kind of a slow process, but we're getting there. We have a couple of videos already, but I know a lot of people that can make a really good knife, but they don't know what to do after that. So I have a business degree, a bachelor's in business. So I guess that's kind of helped be able to run a business. I guess it's helped a little bit. I don't know. But because of that, I can share the knowledge that I have with other people and help keep them going on the right track. So we also have a lot of people that reach out to us that are knife makers that ask us questions. Hey, how do you do this? Or where do you buy that? Or, hey, I'm starting to grow. Where do you sell these things at? What are, how do you sell to a retailer? How do you go and talk to them about that? So we love
that
talking
is a
to
whole
people.
Skill set in itself.
Yes. And I'm learning it. So if I can help cut somebody else's learning curve down a little bit, and we're always happy to help. We have probably once a week, we have a knife maker or a small business owner over to the shop to help whatever we can to help them out. If we're figuring out what they've done or what we've already done, we can guide them, do everything we can to help them. So we're all about giving back to our community because it's given us everything. So
it really shows through, Chris. I've interviewed a lot of people, and I'm a bit lost for words at your humility and your charity. I think that's the best word. I was going to say altruism, but at your charity. And blowing smoke would just make you feel bad. But man, I'm impressed. It's really cool to see. I wish you all the success. It's great to have told your story a little bit and to meet you. And yeah, I'm really excited to watch how things go over the next year or so. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your story. And yeah, anyone that's listening, man, this dude's got some cool knives. And you heard the story. It's supporting excellent causes. So check him out.
Well, I appreciate it. And thanks for having me on the show. This is awesome. I love spreading what we're doing. It's not just me doing it. It's our whole family, everybody that's involved. So we love helping bring everybody up together.
That's beautiful. Thanks, Chris. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, take care.